good friend John Steiner, and welcome everybody to City Hall today, right? Yeah. How's everybody doing today? Well, we're close to breaking the record.
Up here we go.
There you go.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
We should have like a dance contest to that song. That's like
like from the 50s.
It is. We should do like how did they dance? How did you guys dance in the 50s?
I don't know. I was young.
That's like sock hop music, isn't it?
50s. I was still in grade school. That didn't count.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I'm not that old. I can't take credit until let's see, Beach Boys or
the Beach Boys.
Beach Boys or Beatles. Yeah, I mean,
right. Can't go wrong with.
It was all a dream in the 50s. I mean, we were what we call little kids on the block. Well, here's my good friend
John Steiner
and Councilman.
My good friend,
Councilman Kaz Kwiatkowski.
Okay.
Hey, what happened today? We're on time.
Kaz, you walked in here, and I'm like, it's a
strange confluence.
Yep.
The universe is in order. But yeah, we got to get a different song, don't you think?
Yeah, we should, but then you get into copyright laws and everybody.
Don't worry about that. We'll take care of that. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, my name's Mary.
Hello, Mary.
How you doing today?
Pretty good.
Great. I wanted to comment. Last week, John mentioned those townhouses downtown, and how empty they are, and nobody wants to move into those.
You mean the ones at like 13th Street?
Yeah, right across the street from, what is it, Arby's?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we all could admit our downtown is in a pretty bad state of affairs. It's pretty empty and not very vibrant. So, at the risk of sounding unkind, and this is not really, how I mean it, but in our downtown area, we have 15 homeless shelters. That's a lot of homeless shelters in one, closed-in area there. And many years ago, when I worked at a particular job, and I won't say where it is, but I used to have direct contact with a lot of homeless. And it wasn't uncommon to hear that different cities gave their homeless people bus tickets to Erie because we had such good services for the homeless. And I was wondering, when they count the homeless, and they do that count every year, do they check to see and ask where they're originally from, if they're long-term Erieites or anything like that? Because this is a huge burden on the taxpayer. And our downtown, nobody's ever going to want to bring their business or their storefront downtown because of the situation and the way it is. At least I don't think anybody will.
Well, Mary, you're right about a lot of that. But I think there's some new things that are coming. I was watching the TV on Sunday. There's a show called The Insider. Have you ever heard of that? And they had the executive director of the Innovative District, and they had Dr. David Dowsey from Mercyhurst, who is the provost that's overseeing that program. And I think that they have the right idea as far as attracting the high-tech businesses into the downtown area. They do have a strategic plan. I think they're starting to work and partner with other schools and other agencies to bring, Erie, the Mercyhurst program that they have up there, the Tom Ridge, can't remember the exact term, but it's an intelligence studies program, and a lot of it has to do with cybersecurity. And I think they're trying to bring in companies and add jobs and put them into that innovative district where you bring in high-tech companies that pay a decent wage, and we keep some of our students here in Erie working. And that's how you start building the downtown. And one of the other things that they talked about was their collaboration with the Erie Development Corporation with that John Persinger and Erie Insurance, and they have a lot of money in a big account where they're going to start doing some serious renovations to the downtown area. So there are things coming, but you are right. I mean, we get a lot of vagrants here, and I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, because we have to fund it through some way. So.
My husband and I, we're both retired, and we take day trips, little car trips here and there, and so we go to different cities in the surrounding area, and it's enjoyable to walk their downtown streets and go from one small shop to another small shop, and to shop local in their area. Unfortunately, we don't really have much along that line here in Erie. You can go to the mall, but that's not any fun. And so it's just that quaint, one-on-one business owner relationship that we enjoy. But in order to get that, we have to go out of town. And, I know technology is going to be really important in the future downtown, and that's a good way to grow the downtown. I certainly agree with that. But, it would be great to have an area that is, a wonderful little shopping district with the quaint stores and, the owner shops like that. And I don't know. I just think that type of atmosphere would do good for our tourism as well.
Absolutely.
Mary, stay on a minute. John brings up a good point, and a gentleman that was involved, years ago, do you remember the downtown when it was booming?
Oh, yeah. You have no idea how old I am.
Well, no, that's okay. You and I are probably pretty close. And, I go back, I'll just tell you, I got out of high school in 1966. So, I remember some of the great times. But a gentleman told me when we were faced with all these empty buildings, at the time we took subsidized housing and all that. And that's led us to where we are now. And when you read the Buki report, the comprehensive plan they talk about,
yeah,
they do talk about that all the service agencies, we should readdress them and not have them all in your prime business district or in one area and try to spread them out. Now, the counter argument is they say it's easy for everybody to come to one location. But the problem is I've dealt with the other mayor one time had me talk to a businessman from out of town, and it certainly didn't impress him that we had, a lot of homeless and panhandlers, which, if you remember, we put put at least one beat officer on last year to take care of that, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying everybody's bad that's poor or in need of services, but it kind of sends a funny message when, our downtown is on one hand service agencies, on the other hand, a lot of drinking establishments for young people, and really nothing in between.
Yeah, there's nothing for, the person like me. I'm retired, and I would love meandering, going from shop to shop, and just looking and seeing and getting out and chatting with people. And there's really nothing downtown, and so it's not something that I don't go downtown. As a matter, we don't go downtown. We don't go to the bars. We don't, frequent any of those businesses down there. I remember the Boston store. Wasn't that phenomenal?
And I think John's onto something, though. But if we bring in, let's say, a different class of businesses and with the students, and like what Erie Insurance is doing right now with their workers, people like that are going to want things to do in the afternoon. They may even stick around town. And so, business will come where business is. You might get a few more restaurants, little stores, Maybe we don't get the department store, but when we were in Lancaster a year or two ago, we were very impressed with what they did to their downtown.
Mm-hmm.
You had the little type of store, not the big department stores, but you had little places you could go, things to do, and I think that's something we got to work on. But I'm a little disappointed that when we tried housing, like I read in the paper the other day, Allentown is building 90 more apartments downtown, and these aren't low end, these are like middle to above. And when my daughter danced in Peoria a few years back, they had 2 huge towers that people lived down there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think people might want to live downtown or at the waterfront if you have the proper location. I mean, think how nice it would be if you could live in a high-rise by Perry Square, and you could go to the theater, you could go to various restaurants, little stores. You know, if we could bring a grocery store, which we're talking about, we're talking about a farmer's market either at the GAF site or at the bus station. You know, things like that can help. But, you know, I don't want to seem like none of us want to look like we're mean, but we're not presenting a good side of downtown sometimes.
Well, Kaz, you hit on something right.
Our downtown looks pretty sad in comparison, and I can speak from, you know, firsthand knowledge. Like I say, we go and we travel. There is not a week that goes by that Joe and I are not in a small town and enjoying shopping and getting dinner there. And right now, we're getting close to the point where all you have are fast food restaurants in Erie.
Yeah, and
I don't eat fast food. We don't, or we don't eat chain restaurants. We won't go to a chain restaurant.
we got a few nice independent ones, you know, even downtown, and we got to push them more. You know, I've named them in the past, like, you know, we got, well, you know, we had the Puffer Belly, which unfortunately went out of business, but we got Cloud9, we got, you know, there are different levels of you know, places like we got, was on 12th Street. We got Cow Tie. We got the new place at Marketplace.
Well, something that we talked about here about a month ago, and I had mentioned it, and I think people are starting to pick up about it in the community, is that there's going to be major change to right around here at Perry Square as far as market rate housing goes. So we had talked about the Richford Arms, and I think other people are starting to pick up on it too, that there could be some major changes to what's going on as far as market rate housing in the downtown area, and that would be a location where they would probably prosper.
Well, and you bring up that point, and it's a good point, but play the devil's advocate here. Okay. I do know that there's been a lot of homes being taken down and taken over by eminent domain because of the poor condition and stuff like that. And where are those people supposed to go? You know, conceivably, they could end up in those houses, in those apartment buildings and things that you're talking about. And then again, that's going to further put Erie in a whole bad light as it relates to, you know.
Not if they make the housing, like I said, the ones they build in Allentown, they're not being geared to lower income levels. They're being geared to young couples, older couples that are retired. So you got like people that are either in their working years or retired that can afford it. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are geared like, what do we have that's comparable right now, would you say? You know, you got places that you look at that you know that if you go in there, it's not going to be low end or middle, low to middle, but it's going to be middle to high. You know. How
about Lavelle Place? Are those apartments over there?
Not sure, but the ones that are like, you know, out there by the peninsula, a few of them, that, you know, we've built houses where, or like in the old days, Mid-City Towers was more for doctors and stuff. Hey, that's another thing, ma'am, is like, if we're going to bring in doctors, let's say for Hammett, the young doctors, they may not want a house, they may want a temporary, you know, a condo or apartment situation. But I've seen them in other towns where you gear that to that market, and you discourage, you know, the other housing. That's where Buki said it needs. If you read his report, that needs to be spread out amongst various parts of the county. that the city alone should not take it, especially when you put them all in your center city, which is supposed to be, one of your most marketable areas.
Yeah, 15 homeless shelters in our downtown area. That's a little bit much. I was thinking too, and I don't know how feasible this is, but since the school district has done all their reconfiguring and everything, we have several empty school buildings. Couldn't those be renovated into, instead of having all these separate little, agencies taking care of the homeless, have two, maybe one for males, one for females, although I'd get in trouble with gender identity there, and I don't mean to.
No, I get in trouble too, so don't feel bad. You and I are at an age when we didn't think about it,
I didn't, it shouldn't be such a concern. I mean, it's a matter of being concerned for the individual, and I think there's too much political correctness being, taken into consideration in today's society. But, think about the size of a school and the numbers of rooms involved in a school, and how instead of how much are they putting into the city mission downtown? Like millions of dollars?
Yeah, and that's
instead of doing that, renovate one of these schools or two of these schools instead of having 15 agencies sucking up, that's a bad word, I don't mean to say that, taking over our downtown area. Have two schools strategically located and use those.
Well, they did use, they repurposed Columbus. And years back they talked about repurposing an academy for a while. But Columbus is one example where they did do it. They repurposed that school into apartments.
Don't be surprised if they repurpose another one real soon.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about. But
yeah. Don't be surprised if they do it again, and that's where the people that are at the Richford Arms are transferred to if they want. So, in the near future, not too distant future, actually. So, good things are coming. We just have to wait.
You could take a building hypothetically before we tore it down. In other cities, they've taken like old hotels and put a lot of money and repurposed them, knocked out walls, made,
Well, we got a lot of good, the Downtown Development Corporation, the Innovative District, the new administration. Everybody, we're starting to work together. People have a plan, and it's just going to take a little bit of time. It took us a long time to get where we're at. So hopefully it won't take us as much time to get back up to where we need to be, but it's a slow process, but the process is in place, and we just need people to step up, do what they're supposed to do, start working together to bring the city back. A lot of cities come back. Look at Pittsburgh, for example. They're a perfect example of...
And they repurpose a lot of their old department stores into young condos. And
somehow you have to, make what's old into something new and make everything relevant and start bringing people back. You got to have jobs. Jobs are the key. So we got to start looking into technology and looking into this innovative thing, start partnering with other people and start bringing the city back. I'm positive about it. Everybody else is a little negative, which I don't blame them.
I think they've been dragged down so long.
Absolutely. Everybody in our whole lifetime, Kaz, it's just gone downhill. So hopefully by the time our generation's gone and the next generation's coming up, they'll continue the progress that we've started.
Over 10 years ago, Joe and I lived in Mill Creek, and we moved out of a brand new patio home out there at South Point. And we moved into the city, and the day we moved into our house, it rained in our living room. Our house was in horrible, horrible shape. And we took this little home, and we totally redid it, top to bottom. And people walk in and they're stunned at how beautiful it is. But, we took an area that needed some TLC. It was probably one of the worst houses on the block. And we endeared ourselves to this neighborhood. You have to start with that somehow. And, I'm not looking for brownie points because we did that. But I was born and raised in this city, and that was kind of like my little contribution, per se.
Well, if everybody took pride in their neighborhood like you do, we'd be a lot better community. I can tell you that. Thank you for what you do.
We have to claim it 1 foot at a time.
Absolutely, 1 block at a time. That's what the isn't what the Buki plan, 1 block at a time.
Yep.
So
That's to start somewhere.
absolutely. I think we have started. I think we got people on the right page. Now people better start doing something.
Well, we have to continue it. We can't.
Can't continue it. People got to be held accountable for non-action.
When my career is done, somebody has to take over the next council, the next mayor.
Well, hopefully, the next council and mayor, I think, this mayor will start the ball. And, the money is there, the teamwork is there, the effort is there, the plan is there. Everybody has to start working together and just get it going. So, well, thanks for calling.
Two cities that do some unique things to encourage their citizens, to step up and do those things. Have you ever done the Ohio City Home Tour or the Buffalo Garden Walk?
No, I haven't, but I've been to a lot of cities in both.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
both
think I've
those
done
events are absolutely outstanding. And it basically, with the Ohio City Home Tour, they, create competition. These homeowners in that area want their home in the home tour, and they've taken a little district outside of Cleveland, Ohio City, and they do a tour of these little homes, and it's just like everybody wants to outdo each other. And then the same thing with the Buffalo Garden Tour, 2 outstanding events, and they bring in literally thousands and thousands of people every year to those 2 events, and everybody wants to show off their stuff. So, little things like that might spark an interest for homeowners in the area. I don't know. I'm just trying to do my part, and I appreciate you guys having this show and that I could call in like this.
Well, that's good. You sound like an unfamiliar voice, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, that means more people watch than the 4 people that call here.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. So thanks for calling, Mary. Anytime. Call anytime.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too. We gave her a little bit of time, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
She's right, but we have to now.
Yeah.
It's going to be, we're going to have some issues come up that are going to be wrong and problematical, but we got to keep grinding, that's all.
The road to success is sometimes bumpy.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Hello.
That lady was very interesting, and I think she has a great ideas.
How are you going to follow her now? She's...
It's a tough act to follow.
Well, here's a couple of things. She had a couple of key phrases in there. One was that strikes me as, like you said, I remember the old days of the downtown.
Yeah.
And but one of the things I remember downtown is its walkability. You could walk to downtown to the various places. And considering what you mentioned about the farmer markets, when you stop thinking they're not going to be walkable, you got to either drive or ride to those 2 different farmer markets to get to use them. We need to reconsider or look at what can we do downtown to make them walkable. And I'm looking at West Erie Plaza, where they remodeled that, and all the stores that moved in there are small. And it reminded me of the old downtown. Remember, we had a hat store, clothing stores, all kinds of little stores down.
Couple grocery stores.
Yeah, try to see if we can't entertain some of them. The other thing too, John, you mentioned the one thing about the like Richford Arms and that. I don't know how many people think about it, but what the inhabitants of those buildings downtown now, or a lot of them are disabled, or like you say, somebody said Section 8 one time, but they're mostly seniors, citizens in a way. But in reality, those who are confined to wheelchairs, those become death traps in a way. So, because how they're going to get out of that building should a fire originate. Hopefully it never happens. I pray God it doesn't. But that's something that we need to look at, too. I know a couple of those buildings, if you remember, Kaz, used to be dormitories for Gannon.
Yep.
And now they're high-rise, just apartment buildings for seniors. So I think we need to, I don't know what John Bookman's, or not Bookman's, the one that keeps taking the plans he has for downtown. What he had in mind to help restore Erie that way. But that lady has some great ideas. I think we need to make Erie a showcase, as it once had been a wonderful place to visit and shop and do things downtown. One of the other things I would suggest in a way is you mentioned some of the small shops and arts and crafts are things a lot of senior citizens do, and maybe we could set up some kind of place down there that offers arts and crafts programs or to sell like goods that were made, handmade goods, things downtown. So that's some ideas.
I just think, downtown seems to go to the extremes lately. I'm not saying that young people's establishments are bad or good. I'm just saying you need a balance downtown. That if I come downtown and I go to a ball game or a theater, okay, I want a place for some to do. And I think places, I mentioned Cow Tie, or I mentioned Cloud9, places like that are more geared to what my lifestyle now.
Right.
A little relaxing. And I think we need more of that. But what John hit on the head, and it's very important, is in the past it was always government that did it one way or the other. We now have a unique situation where certain business people have stepped forward, and as they say, they put their money where their mouth is. They're not just talking the talk now, but now they're walking the walk, because they're putting actual dollars into it and saying, you know what? We want to change it, and we're going to change it, because if they're going to start recruiting young kids or even older business people to come here, some of them are going to maybe not want to go into housing. They may want the apartment life, like you do in other towns. They want the lifestyle. And you know what? When business comes and there's a market there, business will come, and you'll see people invest.
Yeah, like we've talked about before. Right now, the only business that Erie is attractive to is Dollar General, the downtown. But, once, if that does work out over there, then you have, market rate house, you have people with income. The next thing you know, people start, opening different shops and that's how you start building the downtown economy back up to where it needs to be. I mean, we've said it before, Kat, we always said this on the campaign trail, government doesn't create business. We just create an atmosphere where businesses can thrive. That's what government's job is. It's stuff. Now, our local community, our local businessmen, our local colleges, they're starting to step up financially.
And they're going to ask us for help.
And we need to coincide with what they're doing, because they got the deep pockets. So we just work with them. Here's what we know. What can we do as a city to help you? And then boom, just start watching things happen. And then we start building up.
You two, in a way, you're talking about businessmen and colleges. But I'm not hearing anything about, like, say, families with kids. You remember, Chad, when we came down, we used to go to Palacos for candy, or to the movie theater, or
I think that
various other aspects. For the Boston store is always great for kids with the toy department and stuff too. There's nothing like that downtown for families with kids, so they don't bring their kids down there. They take them to the malls. So what we need to do is consider what is it that we want to. If we just want businessmen and kids down there, that's one thing. Even saying doctors, I don't see doctors wanting to live downtown. From my experience with the doctors, they like to move out in the where they're a little bit more away from.
Yeah, Richard, but if you got, like, let's say, interns
would stay at those places.
Because if you got UPMC,
and that's true for down in North Carolina. My sister's involved in hiring interns for her hospital, and that's basically what they look for, the small apartment type places where they can stay while interning, but once they get done interning, they move on.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, though. If you can do that, if you can build a network of, like, say we become a teaching hospital a little bit, where they send up a few doctors, then your insurance, their plans, although they won't tell you this directly, you can see that they plan on training their agents, providing housing, right, John? So while they're here, they're going to want things to do.
Well, you got to think, Kat. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Doc, I think once people see that there's a viability to downtown, then I think you'll see people expand it and say, this is a place you can bring your family.
That's the type of project that would get the ball rolling as far as bringing in the rest of the stuff that you're talking about.
Down here that will be in the business world, but then once they come down with their families, they got to have something for the kids to do, like you say, parks for the kids to go play in. And what that lady said, we need to get some kind of a program too that, like some of the places have those flower gardens to come see. I think we do somewhat downtown on 6th Street. They have like a Millionaire Road tour. We go to various homes that at a certain time of the year are decorated for the season. They have that downtown if they still do. I think they do. But those are things that. But I have to realize if your grandkids came, my grandkids came to Erie, what would they want to go downtown to see? Right now there isn't anything down there for them.
Well, the thing is, as you develop the downtown, let's say you bring families down here to go to the baseball game. Right now they go home.
Baseball, I agree there, yeah.
I mean, they go home, they go to the Civic Center, they go home, right? Now, if you got a vibrant downtown and some businessman sits there and says, you know what, we got 6,000 people or 5,000 people every night going there. How can I keep them down here an extra half hour, right? And I think, that's what you may see.
I see, when as far as kids go, I mean, there's a lot of festivals. You have the Erie Days, you have the Barbecued Rib Fest. There's all kinds of different things. But one thing that location is Perry Square, where you can go and play in the park, where kids, every summer day, that fountain is full of kids.
And if we can develop businesses around there.
Absolutely. And then that's how you start. You got to start the ball rolling. But you're right, the downtown has gotten away from a family atmosphere because, like you said, a lot of people do go up to the mall. But we need to reintroduce that kind of atmosphere back downtown.
And I'll guarantee you, Doc, that if the business people have an investment downtown and they got their police forces involved, they will make sure that our mayor and our council hear about the fact that they want the streets patrolled. They want a safe environment so that, let's say you come down here for Celebrate Erie, and instead of going home, you say, you know what, we're going to take the kids for ice cream or something else or whatever you want to do. Maybe not necessarily at the event. Those things will happen.
You're right. We need to get something like an ice cream store now. But no, we do have the Warner Theater that could be to put on some programs for the kids. The ballpark's great. We need maybe to remember the old Erie Sports Store, but we need a store down there that might sell the mementos of the ballpark or football or hockey or whatever.
See, that's where Gannon.
The season to buy, we go in here and buy something just like they do at the mall.
We have the Children's Museum down there. You have the YMCA's right over here. There's a few things, but you're right. We could. I'm sure once things start picking up, a family atmosphere is what draws in the visitors. And if they put a whatchamacallit down on the dock, what they're talking about, a Ferris wheel, which I love that idea.
Well, hopefully we'll get more callers like that lady there because she presented an interesting approach, and I'm glad to hear her spirit wanted to improve the downtown. I do too, and
it was definitely.
It's just kind of depresses me a little bit not to see the old downtown when you could walk around in a Boston store and back when you and I did, we were more or less grill shopping too.
If you go to new downtowns all over the wherever you go now, they've all changed.
Well,
it's like if you go to Pittsburgh, they don't have the big department stores down there, but they've put housing in there. They've put businesses that match the people that live there now. And there's other things. You can go to the museums and the other stuff. So, that's all been slow growth. And, it's not going to be easy. This problem didn't happen overnight.
Yes, you're right. It took time.
And so it's going to take time and like John and I agree on, we're going to have a few pitfalls ahead of us. It's going to test our courage. But the one thing we got to do is we got to say that, how do you say, John? We've been backed up as far as we can go now.
Our backs are against the wall.
Yeah, so we got to start digging out inch by inch. And, there's nothing like success. Success is like a steamroller. Once people see that people are serious, and like right now it's a lot of talk. I think the first time that you see a shovel go in the ground, or you see some realistic, huge change in a building or something that these businessmen, finally take control of, when you start seeing that, everybody wants to be part of it then.
There's another thing, too. You look at some of these buildings, they're on the dark side. They're not bright, no brilliance to them to make them attractive.
No, but that all can be changed. You go to downtown, you ever been to Lancaster?
Yeah.
Hey,
And that's what I'm saying, man.
a lot of old-looking, depressing buildings, but they're not depressing anymore.
Oh, that's just it. John, just before I hang up so somebody else can call, you mentioned about new music for the program. Kaz and I used to enjoy a wonderful song called Wipeout, but that would not be a good.
That could be a good one.
Not for this there. I would say the song we need to get, Kaz, is, remember there was one that we used to play called I Just Called to See What Condition My Condition Is In?
Oh,
Doc, we did talk to Mike about the possibility of changing it, and he brought up the whole copyright infringement, stuff like that.
yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll.
Over that.
Yeah. Kaz will pay the lawyers.
But talk to, maybe Jet Radio might help you with the copyright bit there. I don't know. But it's interesting that new theme song. I would say one thing, Kaz. I don't know what it would take to. Every time it seems when you start up with the previous program and then you switch over to today. So we need to get that more time better. Hey, God bless you guys. Hope you guys had a good St. Patrick's Day. And the only St. Patrick joke that I heard that was cute, and it's very clean. You know how St. Patrick's is noted for taking the snakes out of Ireland?
Yeah.
For driving the snakes out of Ireland. One little girl called and said that St. Patrick must have had a hard time trying to fasten all those little seatbelts on the snakes before he drove them out.
Hey, did you have lights on down to your house?
Pardon?
Did you have power down to your house this weekend?
I didn't quite follow what you said.
I said, did you have electric power this week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, our pole got.
That's one thing you might want to look into, too, Kaz. I've heard some places they're starting to do solar panels. Would solar panels substitute for, like, an emergency generator?
They could if I don't know how good they are, though.
It might be something to look into for some places,
Yeah, we had, I hope it wasn't a reveler, but somebody hit a pole, had a hit and run up on
38th and what's called East Avenue.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of grief, a lot of businesses, and
well,
I better not catch a guy because
you remember they were going to, and they did do downtown, go underground with the wiring. So
yeah, that's pretty hard to do in the old sections now.
Yeah. All right, I better let go to somebody else can go. God bless you guys. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Doc.
Well, we got a lot of conversation.
I like it today.
Well, people are interested, but success is a steamroller.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to start everybody's got this, to me, isn't it springtime? When's spring start? What's the date today?
I think today.
Yes, there it says right there. Spring begins.
Tomorrow.
No, today. Oh, tomorrow. You're right. Yeah. Tomorrow. So tomorrow we start new.
Yeah, because my wife joked it's her birthday today.
Is it?
And she said, I go out at the end of winter.
Oh, really?
Don't think of it that way. I think it was the dawn of spring,
What do you take? Where are you taking her for your birthday?
We haven't talked about it yet.
You haven't talked about it yet. It's tomorrow. What are you talking about?
No, today is hers.
Or it's today. And you haven't talked about it yet?
I'll take her somewhere nice.
Yeah, take her out. Take her down to the Polish Falcons or something.
What?
Wasn't that where all the Polish people
I think she's thinking more.
I was joking, of course.
Yeah, I know. But
you better take her to
nothing gets surgery.
You don't want to get too crazy. Just max out at O'Charlie's or take her out and take her downtown somewhere. Where's a good restaurant downtown?
Lots of them. I said this. I'll get in trouble, but
what else is new?
I've said this we got great places. We don't have any of the, like that woman brought up. We don't have a lot of the, what do you call it, the big chains.
Right.
Like
downtown.
I don't want to say like Applebee's or Longhorn or, but we have a lot of independent people.
Yeah.
And the one day I ran into Habib down there at the train station.
Okay.
You can catch me at the brewery. I've been to is that what they call it, Habib next door?
Yeah, I know. I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
It's a very good place.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. I've been to Cloud 9, the old Bertrand's, Cow Tie, you know.
You're a regular. You're a socialite.
The old Puffer Belly in the old days.
You're a socialite.
No, I like local merchants.
I do too.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, I didn't realize that you had a birthday today to take from that knowledge, but so wish that lovely lady of yours a happy birthday.
Yeah, I know. I just told her that she's.
But you ought to tell John how you two met in the dark.
Who, me?
Yeah, remember at Gannon Auditorium?
Yeah, happened a long time ago.
Better in the dark.
Remember those
Well, it was
days?
during the dance. Yeah.
Right, you looked a lot better then.
When she saw me for real, and she saw the.
She was like, whoa.
Too late to back out now, huh?
Like,
Love isn't always blind, John. It's only when the lights go out.
that's hey, we all look better at closing time. Right? Was it closing time, Kaz?
Yep.
All the guys look better at closing time.
No, it was one of those college dances.
Oh, you guys
Yeah.
love at first.
Thanks for calling, Doc.
Did you dance with her?
Well, yeah, I was a bon vivant back then.
Dude, you're a player, Kaz. You're a player.
Back then I was. Right?
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Not a big player, but.
No? Oh, you had it going on with the ladies back in the day?
Man,
Ladies man?
not really.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a good girl.
Those that brag, they're usually.
And your mom's a sweetheart. I love your mother. Like when we roll into the breakfast place and you guys are over there, I like talking to her. And yeah, you're lucky. You got a nice family. You better take her somewhere today.
She gets around, my mother, too.
No doubt. She's older too.
Well, she's been around.
She's probably better shape than we are. Huh?
She is.
I believe it.
I take her to the doctor, and I said, "Holy crow! I take more pills than my mother." You know.
Well, that's good. You know, it's there's a lot of good things going on. I went down to I actually broke down and came downtown for a little bit on St. Patrick's Day, and I made it I came up State Street and I saw what was going on, and I said no. So I did stop in at the Bourbon Barrel and had a couple beers and watched they got that Bronco or that bull, mechanical bull.
Did you ride it?
Oh no, I don't ride bulls.
Why? What's the matter?
Well, I'm too big to ride bulls, Cass. They don't like it when I get on their backs.
You know, when I was in the Army, we had a kid. He goes, "Yeah, I ride bulls," and we go, "Well, there's nothing big about that." You know, we thought it was those mechanical ones.
Yeah.
The kid was a bull rider from Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went home on a weekend one time. He came back. I said, "Who won that battle?"
I'll tell you,
I tell you, man, oh man.
People were not on that bull very long. The girls were even some guys were getting on there.
They got it set pretty high?
Oh, no, I mean, they just start you like this, and then the next thing it goes, whoop, and you go, whoop. But they have the pads on it. It's just like on TV. It was good fun. And
that was popular a long time ago, remember? And it went away, and then it...
Yeah. It was fun for a while, and then, it was kind of slow when I got there in the afternoon, but these ones down here are just packed.
You know what we need downtown?
I don't have time for that.
You know what we need downtown?
What do we need downtown?
I saw one in Peoria. Now, we got one at the mall now, finally.
Okay.
Kind of like an adult playground. You know, like a Ben & Jerry's or Ben & Buster. What do you call that?
Ben & Jerry's.
No, that's the ice cream. But Buster?
Oh, Dave & Buster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we got one at the mall like that, sort of, but it's more family.
Yeah.
But you think about a place where, you can have fun, like you joke about the bull or...
Yeah. Right. See, I mean, that's...
I saw one downtown Peoria once, and I go, what a location, Because you got kids from Bradley, the college that come there,
I wish they'd put more stuff on the East Bayfront slip there, the East Dobbins Landing. I mean, why can't they develop? Why don't they put townhouses down there?
Well, they keep going around. There was a plan when I first came on.
Yeah, there's about 5 plans.
Well,
guess what? None of them are like.
When I first came on as controller, I remember I was down there and they were talking about. I don't want to say how many stories I may be off, but it was like 13 or 14 stories.
Yeah.
They were talking about a huge apartment on the east side, and they were going to combine it with another like parking ramp, 4-story commercial business, But then the market hit bad and everything slowed down.
That, yeah.
But then we ran into this is what I call the problem in Erie, and we got I'm going to get in trouble with this comment, but I love it.
As usual.
But I love it, though, because
You're a rabble-rouser.
I am not against building high-rises
No.
in certain areas of the city.
Okay, I'm going to say it for the 10,000th time.
And you know what I'm talking about,
I
right?
know what you're talking about. We have a bad habit of putting non-taxable entities on our most taxable property. That's why we're in the hole we're in.
Think about a 14-story building,
Yeah.
like they envision, overlooking the waterfront.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know why it's not. I mean, if I...
In combination with a nice Scott development, a GAF development.
And then right down there, you put little dock slips.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. And then not only that, when you put up that high rise, it's a mixed use facility.
What did Mark Guy Finley say?
So
Get all these boaters that come here on the weekend?
Oh, Mark, yeah.
Keep them here.
Absolutely. You put on the base floor, you can throw up the gates and you have outside restaurants and taverns and bars, things for kids, and then you have the Ferris wheel. And we'll touch on that in a second.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, so my understanding is that Erie Insurance gave a pile of money to the Erie Community Foundation, which turned around and basically gave that money to the Erie Downtown Development Corporation, or some kind of money washing scenario where the money that Erie Insurance is putting in is becoming tax deductible. If in fact, say, Richford Arms is purchased by a nonprofit, then or any other property purchased by the Erie Downtown Development Corporation or its non-profit entities, would that then make the properties non-taxable?
It depends on not who buys them, but what the use is. I'll give you an example. Council recently rezoned, I think it was a 3-story building that was on the northwest waterfront. And part of the stipulation was that even though it was owned by a nonprofit, 2 of the floors will be taxable. And we wrote it into our granting their variance and their rezoning. So just because a nonprofit buys a building doesn't mean that it's going to be non-taxable. It depends what the use is. For instance, the Port Authority has structures, they're non-taxable, but they do pay taxes on businesses that make money. Correct, John? Yeah. And if you take that, the intermodal building is a prime example. Port Authority owns it, but the bus company that's in there pays taxes on their portion. So if Erie Insurance or somebody else buys a Richford Arms, it's what the usage is that comes out of it. So that's to be determined, You know
how nice it would be.
Well, I hope that the city is very vigilant that they don't allow the downtown property purchased by Erie Insurance through basically washing the money through a nonprofit, and then running the people who live in places like Richford Arms out of downtown, and then end up with a tax deduction.
Well, how could you?
I deliver Meals on Wheels to those people in Richford Arms, and that's a nice place for them to live because they have a park nearby and they have a bus stop nearby.
Well, you have
and they have access to the waterfront and to not feeling isolated. So I'm sorry that so many people are just delighted to think of moving them out of there. But I think it's very unfortunate because they're going to be put somewhere that they'll become very isolated and less mobile and have less opportunity to engage in the community.
Well, Freda, I don't live downtown, okay, and I'm not isolated, okay?
Freda.
You drive.
Freda.
You have. I'm sorry, John. I'm talking to Kaz right
now. Well, I'm talking to you.
Well,
we both host the show. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Freda, what did you hear that's moving in there that's got you upset?
That they want to move the subsidized housing people out to get market rate people in.
Well, then how could that be tax exempt?
There's 2 different things I'm mentioning. Yeah. One is the attempt to send the people in Richford Arms and probably Tulio Towers somewhere else.
I guarantee wherever, if that does happen, somebody else brought that up. by the way. If that does happen, I assure you that wherever they go, if they do move it, it will be 100 times better than what they have now. I guarantee it.
So what is it that you know, John, that you're being so sure of this? Where is your information coming from?
The people that are developing, actually I heard that from somebody else. I knew something was going on, but I didn't know that exactly. But if the people that are putting in the money if that is the case, if they relocate those people, they're going to be very well taken care of.
Well, it
very
depends
well.
on what you consider well taken care of.
What you just talked about. And then some. Access to transportation, better housing, nicer apartments, I'm sure. They're not going to throw people out and just get rid of them. They wouldn't do that. These guys, they understand community. So
who are these guys that are so well-meaning?
They're the guys that have put all the money in and all the time and all the effort to develop the downtown corporation.
Fred, if you asked me if I'd rather live downtown now or live out in a nice suburb, and that's not to say that we can't move them out to, better areas.
Freda, let me ask you a question. You delivered Meals on Wheels there. I don't know. I'm just asking for your information.
I deliver Meals on Wheels to Tulio Towers, Friendship Towers, Schmidt Towers, Methodist Towers, and a few people who live in apartments that are in houses.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
I haven't been in there, so I'm asking you for your opinion. How are the apartments in the Richford Arms? Are they nice? How would you classify them?
The only experience I have is when I was doing my job as an orientation and mobility specialist, and I went in there, and it was kind of a studio. Well, it was a one-bedroom.
Okay.
And I have a friend who lives in the Boston store, I'm very familiar with her apartment.
Would you say that they need updated and stuff, Freda?
Excuse me?
Do you think they need updated, or is it?
Well, what I know what Tulio or Richford Arms? Tulio needs their elevators fixed because they only have one functional elevator. They just replaced. They're in the process of redoing the flooring at Richford Arms. Everybody's, I'm happy in my house, but somebody else will come in here and look at the kitchen and roll their eyes and say, you need to remodel your kitchen. Sure, I could have granite countertops and all kinds of garbage, but I don't need it. To get some fancy market rate person in there, you could probably do with updating. But for people who are happy to have a place to live, as long as they have a decent elevator and some of the other amenities, I think most people like living there. They don't want to be run out of there.
Well, I understand with what you're saying, and I can agree with some of what she's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but
they're not going to just say, all right, everybody get out.
Why is warehousing poor people a good idea, though? Or the people in need. That's like, we wouldn't put up with that.
Change is hard, Kaz. Not everybody.
You got here, Lutheran Square is building housing along Peach Street. Mm-hmm. That's what Buki said. Then you need to spread these people out through the community.
Where on Peach Street?
You go up around, 21st, where the old Legion Club was. They're building, things all around Luther Square there. Government, when government's in the business of warehousing people, it's not a good idea. I think some of the social agencies like Catholic Charities and stuff can do a lot better job. But Frida, even Buki, which everybody calls the god of the man that speaks from the mountain, said it's wrong to warehouse people in one area. You need to spread them out through the community. People, I would never be happy if I was in that situation, being warehoused in an area where you stick me in a high rise. Then when I go out in the street, I got nothing to do but basically drink, smoke, or you know, there's nothing there for anybody, even me, okay? So, I mean, nobody's talking about kicking people out. It's repurposing areas of the city that we created that. When I was a kid, you didn't have, how old, Freddie, you're younger than I am, right?
Not by much.
Okay, do you remember when we didn't have everybody downtown?
I didn't grow up here.
And yet we managed to get around. We managed, Freda, to take care of people without having this warehousing issue downtown. That came when we couldn't.
That the people, some of the best run housing downtown is Schmidt Towers and Friendship Towers. The Housing Authority does a really good job of managing their buildings.
But you know why they put them all downtown, Freda? Because when downtown collapsed, they didn't know what to do with it. So the government came in real quick, and that was the new issue back in the...
I don't think that those houses, you know, like the Boston store, all the apartments, those were top-notch apartments. Now they're Section 8.
They thought about it being a law school, a medical school.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think any of these high-rises were meant to be Section
No, they
8.
weren't. But we had no... What are you going to do with it? We had
I'm not
buildings...
saying-
All right, here's where I grew up, where there were projects. Where there were projects, that's warehousing. Projects in places like Chicago and New York, where you're just kind of stuck off on the side somewhere, and it's nothing but blocks and blocks and blocks of low-income housing.
So where were you raised, Freda?
Brooklyn.
Okay, did you have all these people downtown? You didn't see them in downtown New York City, though.
They're in Brooklyn. They're in Manhattan.
Yeah, but Brooklyn's changed now.
There are plenty of projects in Manhattan.
Yeah, but the new Brooklyn has changed. I was there in the new Brooklyn now.
Well, there's also the old Brooklyn. But yes, the Brooklyn, the point is, one thing that I think is humane about being able to live in a place like Richford Arms is you can go and be in a park. For people who live there, just being able to sit out in the sun is a nice thing to do. Being able to have a bus stop right on your corner is a good thing. I don't think you understand what having...
You know what the bus company is? It reacts to where it needs to be. Okay, it doesn't need to be in my area, but if we had a need, and you watch, when I was a kid, Freda, the buses didn't go out to Mill Creek. Remember that, John? Mm-hmm. You know why, Freda? Because there was no need. Now that we got senior housing out in Mill Creek and Fairview and those places, the buses go out there.
They'll bus you to Walmart.
You know what's wrong with our bus company is in Washington State, we had the ability, and this has to be done at the state level, there has to be legislation that enables bus transit districts to levy a small amount of sales tax to support the bus system. And two of the cities that I lived in, we voted to increase our sales tax by 0.02 or 0.04 tenths of a percent, which is nothing. It's like 2 cents on $10 in order to maintain our current level of service or increase service. A good bus system is not just for poor people or old people. It's for everybody, and it'll address some of our air pollution issues as well.
Well, Fred, people in Erie aren't going to use the buses because they don't see the need.
Millennials that you guys want to attract, they want buses. They want accesses to buses, and they want to live places that are transit friendly.
Yep. Hey, thanks for calling, Freda.
Yep, bye.
I tell you this, John, nobody I know uses the bus because they don't feel like they have to. This is Erie, you know what?
We got 1 minute. Yeah, Erie's about walkability, sustainability, different things like that.
Maybe the kids will change, but right now, people don't feel the need to take a bus.
You know, there are people that do. I mean, but I'm sure if it comes to the point where they do relocate certain things,
they'll move the buses.
They'll move the buses.
John Tan,
or they'll move it to where
Mike Tan has moved the buses.
It's there. There's places around that are available for renovation.
Why do you think the city held out against the county?
Yeah.
So we can control where the buses go.
Right.
In the city, if we need to be, mobile.
Right.
It was a spirited debate today.
Yeah, kind of a good show. I liked it today. It was good. We have a couple seconds left. I want to
change in downtown.
You know, people. I mean, right there. I mean, change. You're going to have people that don't want change. They want change, but they don't want to change anything.
I will tell you this. I've been to
She's not the only one. There's a lot of people that think like
I mean,
that.
that's why I asked her. I said, I've been to Chicago.
Yeah.
I've been to New York. I've been to many cities.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing all the social agencies in the downtown,
Yeah.
like Erie.
Right.
I mean, like she said, Brooklyn. Brooklyn has changed. The new Brooklyn is trying to shake off its image of the, what do you call it, the old gritty place? That, we still have a little bit of the Dodgers in us. We're still second place to the big Manhattan. But guess what? We're not that far behind. You go there now, and it's like Oakland. Oakland always has a bad connotation with San Francisco. Mm-hmm. What happens when they want to change their image?
Right. That's just going to take time, but.
Well, it is. And you know what, John? Change for the sake of change is never good. But I think, if we're going to develop downtown, and if we're going to get people to move back in the city, it's going to take some good planning. Mm-hmm. And why was this, you were young, but when I was a kid, and Doc, when we were growing up in this town, he didn't have this downtown. All of a sudden, in the 60s and 70s, the 70s, and when the downtown was repurposed into the mall area, you were left with a lot of empty buildings.
Right.
And what did government do? They stepped in with
nonprofits.
Warehousing people, basically.
Yeah, right. Section 8. Not only is it off the rolls, but we got to pay for it. So it's like a double hit.
Yeah.
We don't get no revenue, and we got to spend tax revenue on it.
I mean, I doubt if.
I'm not saying it's a bad. I mean, you have to have that stuff.
But I doubt.
That's part of a city. I mean, it is part of the culture. But there has to be a mix, and now that's all we've got. We need to mix.
Yeah, we either have both ends of the spectrum. We got party town, and we got
right. So, well, Kaz, thanks for having me. And we're gonna play the sock hop music. Would that be considered sock hop music?
Pretty close. It's like borderline.
It is. So, Mike, you want to turn the tunes up? We're ready.
Oh, he already turned us off.
There he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.